Hello, my name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. This is probably the biggest video I film all year. There's a lot of prep that goes into it. I'm not sure how long this is actually going to take to film, but this is my yearly stats video. So this is all the stats that I gathered for my reading in the year 2021. Okay, I have lots of notes because there's a lot going on here. I'm not sure how editing is going to work because I'm not sure if I can actually fit everything in the spot I've left here, so periodically my face may be covered, and I'm sorry, but I'd rather you actually be able to see what I'm putting up on screen. Okay, so for the year I read 220 books for a total of 78,497 pages. That is a 357 page per book average. These numbers are kind of approximate because I'm pulling them from the story graph and not every book has page info on the story graph, but I figure there are probably some where the count is too high and the count is too low, so it probably all washes out pretty evenly in the end, and I was not about to go look up the page count for 220 books and total it myself. And then anything that I had to sort through and count manually might be a smidge off. I did my best, but I am human and errors happen. So if you're sitting here and you're like, those numbers don't add up, yeah, it's probably because I messed up somewhere. Okay, moving on. So, the main moods that I read from this year were reflective, dark, and emotional. And, yeah, that's kind of been the year. For pacing, I read 70 slow-paced books, 110 medium-paced books, and 39 fast-paced books. That's interesting to me because I don't always agree with how the story graph delineates for like fast, slow, or medium-paced, but I would have thought, based on how many thrillers I read, that I would have more fast-paced than slow-paced books. But I don't, and by a pretty good margin there too. For page numbers, I had 65 books that were less than 300 pages, 122 books that were between 300 and 499 pages, and 31 books that were 500 plus pages. So that is interesting. I'm not sure I really care. Like, I don't have this desire to read a ton of long books, so I'm pretty okay with those numbers. I read 160 fiction books and 60 nonfiction books, which means 27% of my reading this year was nonfiction. That's pretty good. My goal for the year was 25%, and next year I'm shooting for 30%. So I think it's doable. The main genres that I read from: historical, thriller, and history. I am not sure what the difference is between historical and history, but I think you can tell what I really enjoy in reading. My most read author was Octavia E Butler. I read 5 books from her this year. I adored every single one of them. Oh my god, so good. She is amazing. I intend to read more from Octavia E Butler this year. I purchased a few books from her, but what's funny is I still haven't gotten to Kindred, which is arguably her most famous work, so I should probably get on that. But yeah, aside from that, I think the most read authors, I only had 3, so she's, it's not like it was a close race or anything. Okay, my star ratings. I had a 3.81 star average, which isn't bad. That feels about right for what I read this year. There were 20 books that I did not give a star rating to, 6 that I gave a 1-star rating to, 1 that got 1.75 stars, 13 that got 2 stars, 3 that got 2.25 stars, 6 that got 2.5 stars, 4 that got 2.75 stars, 26 that got 3 stars, 3 that got 3.25 stars, 3 that got 3.5 stars, 12 that got 3.75 stars, 53 that got 4 stars, 4 that got 4.25 stars, 10 that got 4.5 stars, 7 that got 4.75 stars, and 49 that got 5 stars. That's a heck of a year. That's a lot. As far as age range, I read 9 that were middle grade, 6 that were young adult, and 205 that were adult. I think my numbers are right there. It's possible this is a little bit skewed. I tried, guys. I tried. Okay, for a genre breakdown, I read 60 nonfiction reads, and this is something that I want to change how I track, because nonfiction is pretty broad as far as genre goes. So I think this coming year I'm going to try to break those down a little bit into further categories, because that's a lot. I read 42 thrillers, 39 historical fiction, 27 science fiction, 20 fantasy, 4 classics, and 3 graphic novels. The thing with genres is that there are some books that could be categorized in 2, and I didn't account for those, so I just kind of, whatever I thought the main slot it should fit into was, that's what I went with. Of the books I read, 143 were from authors that were new to me, meaning that I have never read a book from them before this year. 55 were debut novels, which is kind of cool. That's something that I think I'm going to continue to keep track of, and I might try and make that a goal in future years, to read for more debut authors. Now, this does not mean that the book debuted in 2021. It could be a book that came out in 1983, but it was the author's debut novel. Does that make sense? I'm not sure going forward if I'm going to put debut novels as in debuted in the year of, or if I'm going to continue with it in this vein. I'm undecided. For format, I had 40 that I listened to on audio, 64 that I read on ebook, and then 116 physical books. I'm not surprised, because I really do enjoy reading books physically, like holding them in my hands. However, I think in the coming year, we're going to see a big shift in the audiobook and ebook categories there. I think for 2020, I had read exactly 1 ebook that year, and then this year it's 64. That's a huge jump. And then I had charts that I'm gonna put up here. Actually, they might be covering my face. These are the books sorted by the year they were published. So I don't have the actual books here, I just gathered the years that they were published, and looking at the breakdown that I had, I decided to separate them out into 3 separate charts, because it was just getting too hard to read. So this is done purely for aesthetics, the way I separated the years out. There is not much in the way of rhyme or reason. So I think this first chart that you should be seeing goes from the 1800s to about 2002. That's because I didn't read more than like 3 or 4 from any of these years, but that's not surprising, because that's a huge range of years. Then I think I have 2003 to 2017, and this is all books that are like, it's single digits still. And then I have 2018 to 2022. Yes, you read that correctly. These are books that I had, or years that I had a ton of books from, but that's, I mean, it's not surprising. And then 2022 is that I read several arcs this year. So I had to include them because technically they come out in 2022, so they're not been published yet, but I did read them. So I know that looks a little bit funny, but yeah, those are my years. I hope that you enjoy that aspect. I just think it's cool to see how wide of a range I'm reading in terms of date published. So that went much quicker than I thought. Those are my stats. I hope you enjoyed this. I myself enjoy stats so much. I find that every year I add something to it. But that's okay, as long as we're all enjoying ourselves, right? Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.